From Charles Berlitz's World of Strange Phenomena, Blue Man on Studham Common. At 1:45 in the afternoon of a rainy day, January 28th, 1967, on Studham Common in England's Chiltern Hills, 7 boys were walking to school through a shallow valley called the Dell. One of them, a 10-year-old Alex Butler, happened to be looking south over the Dell when he saw what he later described as a little blue man with a tall hat and a beard. He quickly pointed it out to a friend who was walking next to him, and the two decided to get a better look at the curious-looking figure. They ran toward it, but when they were about 20 yards from it, it disappeared in a puff of smoke. The boys alerted their companions, who began looking for the little man, hoping he would reappear. Soon he was back, this time on the opposite side of the bush from where he had first been observed. As the boys approached him, he vanished again, then reappeared at the bottom of the dell. About this time, the boys heard voices speaking in a foreign-sounding babble in nearby bushes, and for the first time they felt slightly afraid. When they got to school that rainy afternoon of January 28, 1967, their teacher, Miss Newcomb, could tell they were excited about something. At first, they wouldn't give her the reason. All they would say was, "You'll never believe us." Finally, she separated all 7 and got each to write down his own independent account of the strange event. The accounts were remarkably similar, enough so that Miss Newcomb was persuaded that something decidedly out of the ordinary had taken place that afternoon. The accounts were eventually published in a booklet called The Little Blue Man on Studham Common. In due course, the report came to the attention of British investigators Brian Winder and Charles Bowen, who learned that in recent months a number of local people had reported seeing UFOs. 2 landings had been reported at the spot where the little blue man was seen. The connection with UFOs, however, remained conjectural, since the boys had claimed no sighting of one whatsoever. The investigators interviewed the boys in the presence of their teacher. As Winder wrote, "They estimate the little man as 3 feet tall, with an additional 2 feet accounted for by a hat or helmet, best described as a tall, brimless bowler. They could discern a line that was either a fringe of hair or the lower edge of the hat, 2 round eyes, a small, seemingly flat triangle in place of a nose, and a one-piece vestment extending down to a broad black belt, carrying a little black box at the front about 6 inches square."
The Crescent Moon Club, in association with ABT, presents Omnibus Unlimited, a roundtable discussion of provocative subjects which must be addressed today. A new philosophy for the 3rd millennium. Hello again, everyone. I'm Laurence Nobile, independent researcher and host of Omnibus Unlimited. Tonight, from our ABT studios in Dedham, our topic for discussion is Blue Man on Studham Common. With us to discuss this topic is seeker and reader John Horrigan. John, thanks for being here this evening.
Thank you, Larry. We got a wild one tonight.
I'll say, Blue Man on Studham Common. This smacks of another show which was recently on not too long ago called E.T., a particularly good show, or movie, I should say, in which it depicts a being who is separated from his or her or its ship, as someone who is either left stranded or is placed here for a specific purpose. But nonetheless, if one does believe in extraterrestrials, then it would be an easy extrapolation to believe that from time to time, researchers are put on this planet to research certain things. We have scientists that go elsewhere on this planet, scientists that have been to the moon, and so forth, seeking out new frontiers. And so if one does believe in UFOs and extraterrestrials, then one has to agree that It is possible that, quite likely, in fact, that other scientists have been here from other races, other alien races, or the true foreigners, as our ufologist Dan Murray would say, the true foreigners. But also, from time to time, it's not hard to extend from that every now and then somebody gets lost. They get the equivalence of, say, a flat tire, and they're kind of stranded here on this beautiful blue-green ball, which to them, who knows, could be quite frightening. But the blue man on Studham Common, John, the description of it is 3 or 4 feet tall, and it's got some sort of brimless bowler for a helmet, as it was described, and some sort of triangular object. Now, this is 1967. But what do we have here for eyewitnesses? We have boys, and I'm not suggesting that they're lying. I'm suggesting that perhaps they had little reference, a little frame of reference in which to accurately describe this being. But it sounds to me like this triangular-shaped object could be some sort of mask for oxygen. Certainly, the black box that was in the front of the person or being could possibly be used for that. But John, your thoughts? You read the article. What do you think?
Well, first of all, you have to look at the vulnerability of some sort of alien that was separated from its craft. We did a show on the Dover Demon. In fact, we tried to catch it in a comedic light. And I think that's what the 15-year-old, the 17-year-old, and the 18-year-old boy saw, and the 15-year-old girl in the Dover case, was legit, due to their credibility. Now, I guess, as the story goes on, the 18-year-old had heard the story previously, so you don't know if it was made up, but we've seen the Flat Woods Monster, the Barden Booger Man, Mothman, all these different monsters, not your man-beast type biped, but some sort of the Crawfordsville Monster, for instance, one of our favorite. They seem almost alien-like. They do inhuman or immortal things. Now, this particular thing, in the British Commonwealth, in the Irish Republic, come the stories of elves and wee people. Now, Dan Murray, I know we like to allude to him and quote him. He's not here, but he would say, oh, they're talking about aliens. And there's a program we'll do down the road about fairies. They're called the Cottingley Fairy photographs, in which these young girls claim that there are fairies all about. And these look remarkably like, when I show you the photographs, you'll be scared. So I bet you, I believe these kids. Okay, and again, I'm going to go only to the credibility, okay? It's a rainy afternoon. They're on their way to school, okay? I don't see anywhere in this account, again, this is Charles Berlitz, who's nothing more than a padded Ripley's, believe it or not, but a very enjoyable one. Without him, I don't think we'd have a good basis for our show. So they're on their way to school in the afternoon session in Britain. And they see this thing. And now what struck me as peculiar about this whole ordeal is the fact that they said it was a little blue man. Okay, I can understand that with the alien description, but he had a beard. So I'm saying, an elf, a leprechaun, a blue leprechaun, as though, is this the first sighting? And they're all credible. They're questioned by their teacher. Their teacher believes them as soon as they come in. And teachers tend to know when kids are lying, more so, I think, sometimes than parents, because you always feign like you're paying attention, and teachers know when you're not. So they see this entity. They say it's a little blue man with a tall hat and beard, and it's 10-year-old Alex Butler. Okay, he points it out to his friend who's walking next to him. They said, let's get a better look, and they run towards it. But when they were 20 yards from it, it disappears in a puff of smoke. Okay, now the closest I've seen some nickel-dime magicians do that, but it disappears in a puff of smoke. Okay, so now I'm saying, wait a minute, kids, I've heard this in fairy tales. Then they alert their companions, who begin looking for it and hoping that he would reappear. It's key there. And then soon he's on the opposite side of the bush from where he had first been observed. And as they approach him, he vanishes again, okay, and reappears at the bottom of the dell. Okay, at this time, and this is what scares me and troubles me, and this was in a number of our shows and a number of alien encounters, and we haven't really addressed this. And there's something, and I think it's so funny. Carl Sagan from Cornell, when was he bought off? Okay, by the government, because he knew, he talked to ETs, extraterrestrial, the coming age. All of a sudden, he did an about-face, and it's called grant money, or chairing a committee that oversees grant money. So they have this thing, and I think it's funny. It's called SETI. Okay, now it's almost like using an 8mm cannon to shoot down moths. You know, a little. It's primitive. So, but they're listening for sounds in space, and even though they're listening for these sounds in space, which they're picking up transmissions, just as the aliens are picking up our transmissions. And this is not open to the public. So yes, there are transmissions being accounted for, and they can't be deciphered. But this sent chills up my spine when they heard voices speaking in a foreign-sounding babble. I always come across that. And that's what makes this legitimate. I was teasing as far as the thing disappearing in the puff of smoke in on a rainy day. Perhaps, okay, now they say it's a rainy day. Maybe this is a hot entity. Maybe that's steam that we saw when it disappears, when it vaporizes, so to speak. Maybe it's that type of British day, cold and raw, and maybe because it was higher than the outside air temperature, that caused a puff of smoke. Back to the babbling voices. That's what troubles me. That's when they felt afraid.
Right, and that's where it gets a little bit believable for me. They get afraid. They get to school. They don't offer the experience to anyone. Indeed, the teacher can tell from their body language that something's up, and after she, kind of prods them along.
They wrote individual accounts,
right? And they're all so it's hard to believe that 10-year-old boys could possibly get a story down that straight. But what I was talking about earlier, and then you elaborated on, is the possibility of a being separated from its ship, or perhaps just a researcher here from another intelligence. But you mentioned the idea of a leprechaun. Now, it'd be interesting if we do a show in the future about leprechauns and what it is exactly that they mean. Are they a wives' tale about aliens?
They mean good luck, I guess, right? That's what I've heard.
Well, that's right. But who are they, and where do they come from? So my idea that I'm thinking is the Blue Man from Studham Common. Is it possible that he's something like a leprechaun? Is it possible that such a being, totally different from the human race, could coexist on this planet? What do you think?
Well, if there were a place on this orb of ours called Terra, or Earth, then where would you most likely think that you would see? Let it be a dwarf, an elf, or a leprechaun? I would say the British Commonwealth. Would you not? So that's where Druids started, the idea of we people. The fairy has always been in English tradition. So if there were a place on Earth where we would likely see one, I would have to say it would be in Britain.
Very interesting. I think that this, combined with a lot of the other shows that we've done, and if you're just joining us, the name of this program is Omnibus Unlimited. Tonight, our roundtable is discussing the topic of Blue Man on Studham Common. I'm joined by seeker and reader John Horrigan. And John, when we talk about bizarre events such as this, we're talking about a planet which is not the planet being Earth, and its inhabitants being Terrans. We're talking about a planet which is wide open. It's not like we have any barrier to, or any wall up in our atmosphere to keep things out. Quite on the contrary, we're wide open. We're not everywhere on the planet. Certainly, as we've discussed before in past shows, the ocean is a terrific hiding place for a lot of things, and we've talked about supposed sea serpents that may actually turn out to be extraterrestrial crafts. But do you think that our society is headed toward and being conditioned for a day when we are enlightened that we are not alone, that in fact the Earth is much like, say, East Dedham is to Upper Dedham? That is to say, a community. The Earth is with its Terrans is a community among other communities. Do you think you and I will live to see the day when that is finally announced and what is so obvious to you and I and others is acknowledged?
Yes, it's already been announced. Now it's your choice whether you want to believe it or not. You mentioned about being a community. And throughout our culture, throughout time, and they're discovering these ancient hieroglyphs or petroglyphs on rocks by Indians in ancient cultures that have these objects in the sky. Now, if I can draw a picture of a man, I'm not a good artist, but if you said, John, go draw, what do you see today? Okay, I could draw a tree, pretty good. I mean, that's a tree, and I'm not a very good artist. In fact, my handwriting is poor. I could paint you, Larry, paint myself, and John, to the best of my ability, what we were wearing. And then, an airplane flies over, I can paint a jet in the sky, okay? But when I see these primitive stick figures, and then there's this orb, or some sort of propelling craft above where the line that demarks the ground, that troubles me. And when we have, throughout our history, whether it's religious or scientific, legends of angels, legends of crafts, or even we went as far as to say the Star of Bethlehem. What was that to lead the Magi? So what troubles me is it's been throughout our culture. But when did these first encounters of the first kind start? There are three reasons. It started, according to Kenneth Arnold, on June 20th, 1947, saw, 9 discs over the Cascade Mountains, Mount Rainier, I believe, in Washington. They looked like saucers skipping across the heavens. We'll do a whole show on that sighting alone sometime, remind me. Anyways, there are three things that drew them out there, and that showed that this little man on this planet Terra, in the solar system Sol, is coming out now. Hey, fellas, come here. And there were three things. Number one was, of course, atomic weapons, okay? We blew one off in Hiroshima, okay? Number two was the invention of radar. What's this? They're starting to tune into frequencies and find in marking craft without seeing them. And then, of course, the third is atmospheric exploration, and that's the one I think that scared them. It's the nuclear weapon made them curious, but when they started coming in the atmosphere, i.e., we're coming into the cosmos. And now, if you look at man just is a killing machine, okay? He wants to take over territory, take out land, and expand his boundaries at any cost. He's a fighting creature, and that's when they started visiting. So, now they're landing first encounters of the first kind in the 40s and 50s, okay? You see a disc 500 yards away. Close encounters of the second kind start occurring, I guess it was Lonnie Zamora in the Socorro incident, 1964. Again, we'll have to delve into that. I don't know the specifics here. In the 60s, we see close encounters of the second kind, landed craft. In the 70s, start close encounters of the third kind. We see occupants. In the 80s, close encounters of the fourth kind, abductions. And in the 90s, close encounters of the fifth kind, sexual reproduction. Humans and aliens, those stories are coming out. Mind-boggling, terrifying, horrifying. We have no say. We have no defense. Now, if you wish to believe in that, and you need some concrete evidence, well, first of all, what are you doing believing in God? Why don't you just go out and murder? No, you can't say that. Oh, no, you have faith in God. You have faith in a deity. We have this inherent goodness. We all want to be nice people. We all want to be good and do the right thing. That's inherent. And I think we are a mirror reflection of the deity, as I've stated before, and not so eloquently. But why not? Why believe in a deity? And we went into the map. Why do I believe? There's no such thing as Europe. I've never been. I can only tell you what. So you've got to have faith in it. And I think the key here is it's nearly impossible to confirm today. It will be nearly impossible to deny tomorrow, okay? So, yes, what proof? Everybody says proof. Look at the stack of books before you, Larry. Is that not proof? Why would these people write about these things? Why would all these people, why would the milkman in Oregon, why would the congressman in Iowa, why would the truck driver in Georgia all see the same thing, all describe the same thing? Now, John Horrigan, I've never seen one. I think I saw something that was described as a blimp when I was a little kid standing with my brothers and my dad on my front lawn. Other than that, but I've never seen anything remotely like a UFO. I am an astronomer. I started studying astronomy when I was 12 years old, and I studied the heavens up to this day. When I go off to my folks' house down in Green Harbor, I love to study the heavens. And I am constantly looking up using my telescope, and I've never seen anything. I've seen Soviet Space Station Mir. I've seen Skylab. I've seen numerous satellites, a lot of shuttle launches. I know everything that's up there for the most part. My dad would tell me about geostationary satellites and satellites that go about. And recce birds, you're not supposed to see. They're anti-reflective. Okay, so I'm pretty aware of the heavens. I've never seen anything. Now, I've read up on all the UFOs. I've read all my Sky and Tells and my astronomy magazines. I'm well-versed on my astronomy and my UFO lore. So, now, I've read every story. If I come back and tomorrow say to you, Larry, I saw a UFO last night, I got abducted, you're going to have to tell me, with all validity, say, I don't believe you, John, you just dreamed it up. And I couldn't defend against that.
And we're taking phone calls here at Omnibus Unlimited, but nothing that any of you will be able to listen to. But that's very interesting, John. I think that what we're talking about is, as you said, mind-boggling and terrifying, frightening. To think that we are defenseless, as you said, and as I was alluding to, totally defenseless from any force that wishes to impose itself on us. The little blue man on Studham Common is only one example of how easy it is to simply come here and do whatever it is that they want to do. And to say, yes, I think you bring up a good point, John. People will, on the one hand, say, no, I don't believe in aliens, I do not believe in Aquaman, I don't believe in any of this stuff, and yet, and why? Because they've never seen it, they've never experienced it, but they will believe in God without experiencing or believing that. And that's, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, I'm simply saying that that you're quite right when you bring up that point. Anything to add?
Yeah, we're mentioning a few things. One thing that I would have loved to have seen, okay, or actually smelt, is to see these kids saying that horrible odor, okay? Because whenever they cite, like we talked about the Crawfordsville monster, we talked about the Flat Woods monster, whenever they see these alien-like entities, there seems to be some sort of pervasive odor that smells like, I guess the quaintest way to put it is low tide, okay? Now, I thought that they would say something like, oh, and it smelled bad because they went down into the area where it disappeared in a puff of smoke. So that tells me it's not the same type of alien race, number one, that would leave that particular odor. Number two, whenever they see the man-beast, the biped, Bigfoot,
Alma, Momo, Skunk Ape, whatever you're going to call the guy, Deloise's ape, the Bigfoot-type character, Sasquatch, it always smells horrible, okay? Whenever they see a sea serpent, Loch Ness has been said to smell horrible, the monster one seen. When we did a show about USOs, unidentified submarine objects, one of the accounts said they passed over this massive sea serpent and it smelled horrible. So, if we had smelled it, but what troubles me more, yeah, we can't do anything about it, but hell, can't we have at least one classification? Can't we just have one race visiting us? I just don't believe that one race of aliens is coming down and checking us out and examining us. I think it's a farm. It's a hunting preserve. It's like a safari in Kenya for them. You pay certain money to come down and hunt and abduct the humans. There are a number of cultures, and I think that you can see their craft. If you look at American aircraft, the way it's evolved, okay, from the B-17 in the early days of World War II up until the F-117 that we used in 1991. So within 50 years, you go from that Delta wing back to 4 diesel-powered propeller-driven engines. So we've evolved in 50 years. So are the different types of crafts, number one type of alien, and is it just that we've just seen their craft evolve? Could it be those stupid orbs that were drawn on walls of caves by these primitive people? Was that their actual vehicles? Sure, they could skip the time-space dimension, but they look so silly, almost like that frickin' Jetsons mobile.
Yeah, this is fascinating. To think that that all of this is going around us, and like you, John, I have never had a close encounter of even the first kind, which I wish I have, because I would like to approach it in a more scientific method. Perhaps I would make all the mistakes that everyone else seems to make in getting fuzzy photographs or out of focus video.
It gets me, Larry. They want proof. Damn it, the proof is in the books. Have you seen the pictures? Have you seen the videos? Have you seen the films? Okay, I'll give you the hoax. I'll give you 75%. I'll give you a 90% hoax rating. I'll give that to you. Just explain yourself as far as the other 10%. Okay, and I saw the hoaxsters with the crop circles, okay? Now, whether they were funded by the British government or whomever, I mean, we'd love to say that. We're so paranoid. But they were just having a bit of fun. But don't tell me they made all the crop circles. Okay? And that's like, I used the parallel before. It's like you and me, Larry, stranded on an island. God forbid. Without Omnibus, God forbid. But to get a plane, we'd write with big sticks on low tide. Help. You know what I'm saying? We try to communicate to them. So imagine those aliens using our corn and barley fields as chalkboards.
Very interesting. Yes. Just if when you were talking about the predator aspect, a hunting ground, and that's probably the most terrifying of all. I think that if one really wants to take this to heart, they should watch Predator. The movie's called Predator and Predator 2, with Arnold Schwarzenegger in number 1 and Danny Glover in number 2. Danny Glover did a terrific job, but it's quite likely that, yes, we're a farm, a hunting ground for sport, and perhaps for food, certainly for genetic research to see what makes us tick. But we've come a long way from the little man on Studham Common, but that'll about have to do it for this episode of Omnibus and our topic, the Blue Man on Studham Common. I'd like to thank my guest, John Horrigan, seeker and reader, for being here tonight. John, thank you very much, and terrific insights.
And sorry for getting so worked up about it.
That's what this show is all about. It's a show that whose time has come, and it's about time that we start talking about these things, because we're going to be seeing more and more of them in the coming years as we enter the third millennium. For our viewers out there, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or if you're even entertaining the idea of being a guest on Omnibus Unlimited, the address to write to is Omnibus Unlimited, Box 577, Dover, Massachusetts, 02030-0577, and all letters will be addressed and responded to on upcoming episodes of Omnibus Unlimited. I'm Laurence Nobile, independent researcher and host of Omnibus Unlimited. For all of us here at Omnibus Unlimited, thank you for your attention, good night, and good luck. Omnibus Unlimited is a presentation of ABT and the Crescent Moon Club. This program is presented by authority of ABT. Any broadcast, rebroadcast, or other use of the accounts and descriptions of this copyrighted telecast without the expressed written consent of ABT is strictly encouraged. Copyright 1993 by ABT.
Hi, this is John Horrigan, seeker and reader of Omnibus Unlimited, inviting you to tune into Omnibus Unlimited, heard on your local origination cable station.
The supernatural. That's what it's all about here at the Crescent Moon Club and Omnibus Unlimited. You will hear the best of the weirdest,